How do we solve problems? That's really what the only question that we need to answer when we're talking about persuasive speaking. And it logically leads into an organizational system for persuasive speeches called Monroe's Motivated Sequence. And that's what I'm going to be discussing and really just telling you the steps and how to achieve and what you need to do to prepare your persuasive speech and specifically what will be included in your outline. Now, just so you know, I would like you to take notes over this presentation, and I would like you to either send them to me via email or give them to me on Monday. So the Monroe Motivated Sequence, it involves 5 steps. I'm just going to preview you the 5 steps and define those very, very quickly. The 5 steps are, first is the attention step. And all that is really your introduction, but it's grabbing your audience's attention and creating a desire to listen. So you've got the attention step. That's pulling your audience in. After you've done that, the next logical step is the need step. And the need is the problem. So it's directing your audience's attention to a specific problem that needs to be solved. What do we need to, what problem needs to be addressed in order to find some type of your next step, which is the satisfaction or the solution. So in that satisfaction step, you're satisfying the need by presenting a solution. Got our attention, you've established a problem, you've solved the problem or given us a solution to the problem, and then what we want is some kind of visualization of the future. What will happen if we do something about this? What will happen if we don't? So according to Monroe, it was a vivid picture of an improved future when the solution is implemented. So attention, needs, satisfaction, visualization, and the last step in the Monroe Motivated Sequence is the action step. Now the action step is challenging your audience to take action. Very, very close to your satisfaction step or your solution, but here you're just giving the tools. All right, so we've previewed it. Now let's go into what are these steps. Well, first of all, the attention step. And the attention step will look a heck of a lot like your introduction. In fact, it's exactly like your introduction. You've got an attention getter using one of the 8 attention getters, like asking a question, stating an unusual fact, referring to an event of historical importance, etc. Those types of things are your attention getters, pulling us into what your next part of this is topic. And if you look at this, if you look at the way it's numbered here, you've got Roman numeral 1 is the attention step, then you have A is attention getter, B topic, and so on. That's the way it should look in your outline. So you've got the attention getter, topic statement, you establish a reason to listen, why this should be important to your audience, then you establish credibility in your presentation. What are your qualifications? You may even give us a preview of some of the sources that you looked at to get this presentation together. So you establish credibility. And then you preview what you're going to talk about. And your preview will be a little bit like, we're going to talk about this problem of whatever you're discussing, some ways to solve this problem, look into the future, and then how you can take action right now. So you're specifically previewing what you're going to discuss. So your attention step. Now let's take a side note here just a little bit on credibility, because credibility is really, 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 really important in your persuasive speech. There are 3 types of credibility, and I do want you to make note of this even though it's not in my PowerPoint slide. First of all, there's initial credibility. And what initial credibility is the credibility that you've earned prior to your presentation and early in your presentation. In other words, what have you done in your past that says this person's really qualified, or I expect them? You've gained some credibility in the speeches that you've done prior to this. If you've really worked hard and you've worked hard to do a good job on your presentations, there's a level of expectation that you probably will do well on this speech. So that's there, your initial credibility. What have you done in the past that gives a predictor of what will happen in this presentation, or gives you a level of credibility before you even walked in the door? And that initial statement that you say about the research that you've done, or how much you care about this topic, or those types of things that establish your credibility or give your qualifications. So that's the initial credibility. Second type of credibility is derived credibility. Derived credibility. And what derived credibility is it's that credibility that you earn during your speech. So ways that you can earn credibility during your speech is having an organized presentation. If your speech isn't organized, then it harms your credibility. If your speech is well organized and well delivered, then it helps your credibility throughout your presentation. It can only help your credibility. And then the other thing is the citing the sources that you used. Are they credible and are they objective sources? In other words, if you're looking at biased sources, then sometimes that takes away from your credibility. If all you're doing is looking at, let's say, animal cruelty, and the only source that you look at is PETA, well, they might be a little biased, or at least your audience might think that they're biased. Or if you're asking about the Democratic Party and all you're doing is quoting people from the Republican Party, then there may be a little bit of conflict of interest there. They're obviously going to be biased one way or the other. And same thing if you did it vice versa. If you're talking about the Republican Party and you're only quoting Democratic speakers or people that very much lean Democratic rather than Republican, then you're going to suffer from a little bit of less than being objective as far as your sources are concerned. So derived credibility, that's that credibility you gain during your presentation by organization, delivery, sources. That helps your derived credibility. The final type of credibility, all right, you've got initial, derived. The final type of credibility is terminal. And that's the credibility that you get upon the completion of your speech. And maybe what it means is how you answer questions. We may not have time to have questions for your persuasive speech, but if you did, and really if some people start to ask questions, that's a pretty good indicator that you've had some effectiveness as far as persuasion is concerned. You're not going to make a huge turnaround in a persuasive speech, but you might make a little bit, maybe move them a little bit towards whatever you're trying to get us to do. They won't have a complete change of heart. You're not going to get a smoker to completely stop smoking at the end of an 8 to 10 minute speech, but they might at least start thinking about ways that they could stop smoking. Or they might even argue with you as far as smoking is concerned. Maybe they're trying to defend their position. And if they're trying to defend their position or they get defensive about it, then you've probably touched a little bit of a nerve and you've probably gotten them to at least think about that topic a little bit and getting them to move towards what we hope, or what I hope you're presenting, is a better solution than what the status quo is. And so terminal credibility is there, and the credibility that you have afterwards. So let me give you an example. Let's say you're buying a used car. You go to a place that has a good reputation, that has always had good cars in the past. And then you walk in there and then the salesperson that's talking to you is not pressuring you to buy a car then and there. So you've got that initial credibility before you walked in the door that this place has a good reputation and has good automobiles. The derived credibility you gain is as this person is talking to you, where sometimes you get a reputation of people that sell used cars that they will pressure. But what this person is doing is not pressuring you and letting you make a decision and trying to present you with all the facts instead of just trying to tell you how great this car is and not looking at the other side. We're not looking at what potentially could be the issues with that vehicle. Let's say it's a vehicle that has horrible ratings as far as the different ratings of cars are concerned. It has horrible ratings, but they're not telling you that when they're there. What they'll do is they'll tell you the honest truth and try to get you to buy this car because it's a logical choice for you. And then the terminal credibility is what happens after you leave that car lot. What happens if you get a day or two to think about it? Do you really decide that if they've done their job persuasively, then you'll come back and really buy that automobile? Most of the time, I don't know if that's a great example, because most of the time what they're trying to do is get you in that emotional standpoint and get you to buy that car or buy that truck or whatever it is now, because they know they're much more effective that way. But that gives you an idea of initial, derived, and terminal credibility. So that's your attention step. You gain the attention, you state the topic, you give us a reason to listen, you establish credibility, then you preview what you're going to talk about. So after you've done the attention step, then you